So after working as a software engineer for the past 5 years, I've started to realize how much prototyping and testimonials are important when dealing with a client. So I've had some changes in my organization, and I've been handling things in terms of trying to get that stepping stone with the client and trying to get the project started. And honestly, I was tasked with creating a small non-functional prototype, and I thought, how can I do this? Because I need to build a UI from scratch and all that, because that's what we've been doing in our organization. But then I realized there are these components available for free that you can use, and it will help you in terms of creating that prototype. So that's when I thought about Shadcn, because I've used it with a mate for a project. I've seen other people using it as well, and it just never came to my mind until recently on how helpful this can be for not only for prototyping but for development as well, because you could save a lot of time. So I'm on this Shadcn site and I'm looking at the components and I'm like, this is so perfect. I can use this to build my prototype, and I can present it to a client, and then it'll be good. And so I did that, and I think for 1 or 2 days, with interruptions of course, I built a prototype and they were very happy with it. And honestly, I think if I'm working alone on a project for a client, or if I'm working with a small team, I think prototyping would be a nice step, a non-functional prototype, because 1, you would get a direction on where you're going, and 2, you would have almost a skeleton to connect your backend with your UI. Of course, there's going to be some changes that you need to make, but it'll be quite minimal compared to doing it from scratch. So if you look at some of these examples, it's actually pretty nice because you've already got some of the layouts there. You just need to implement it. Now, of course, you can't just copy and paste this. Well, you can. I mean, if you look in the repositories, but if you look in the components, you could just form something up straight away. And I mean, yeah, of course, you're still going to have to navigate how you're going to structure it. But if you look at what Shadcn is providing in terms of blocks, you've already got some sort of dashboard. And so to show you an example, I think I chose this one. And so if I go to my code editor, I basically, first of all, I've initialized the project. So you can see Shadcn lays in it, and then I've installed Shadcn. And then what I've done was, I don't know why I did it in a different terminal, but I basically copied this command. I think it was 8. So basically copied this command, and I've added this component, and it made a page. I'm using nextjs for this, and I'm sure you can use Remix and other frameworks. But if we go back and run this application, I'm on port 3000, and I go here. Look at that, already there, ready for you to add your stuff. And then you can go here, you can see this background muted /50. That's essentially what these are, these placeholders are. So they've done a really good job on it. And let's say, okay, that's nice and all, but I still need to do a bit of work. Yeah, that's true. But one suggestion I could make, you see this open in V0 button. If we open this in V0, you can customize this component. So this is one example. So I started with this chat, and so it loaded the basic component like this. And then I went in here and I typed, can you add a card with a form in this page? That's for applying a job. I want a name, email, website URL, file upload, and etc. Like just a form. So I was very specific about it, and this was my first result. Not perfect, but not bad as well. It got most of the component the way I wanted it, and of course I can change this because it'll give you a code, and you can see there's a bunch of code. Now, I don't think this is meant for you to code by code copy and pasting this, but this gives you a layout, and then you can extract some of this and put it in your application. And I guess that's what AI is for. You don't want to copy and paste the whole thing. You want to copy certain elements of it that is helpful for you and then form your application. And then another example I've done is this one where I said to make a dashboard with chart and some sample information. To be honest, I couldn't really think much, but I was impressed on what it outputted. Of course, you can see some stuff that's just weird, like cancel and save changes. I don't know why you would have that on a main dashboard, but nevertheless, if you see all of this, this is actually pretty nice. And if we go back to Shadcn, they've got good amount of charts. I mean, surprisingly really nice. Now, I do have to say that in their documentation, they do say this is not a component library, but it's pretty good. I think they're pretty nice. Their CLI is nice. Everything is nice. And it's based off RadixUI as well. So if you don't like Shadcn, you could always just use RadixUI. And let's say you do not want to use Shadcn at all, and you're open to paying for it, TailwindUI, I think this is pretty nice. So I was implementing this for an application and I really liked it. Of course, I wish I could have made it a bit better, but if I look at the demo, it's actually pretty nice. And if you look back into the documentation, they're always updating this, because the last time I touched this, I think it was just a sidebar and the nav bar that was new. Sorry, the nav bar wasn't new, but these layouts were new in the sidebar. The rest of them are pretty recent, I think. I can't remember, but the last time I touched it was in June, July. So that tells you they're still updating stuff. And honestly, for me, it was worth it. But if not, I would definitely recommend Shadcn. Another one I would recommend is DaisyUI, and I've heard this around in social media platforms, but they also give you components as well. So do take advantage of these choices, because these types of stuff can help you prototype. You don't need to rely on a designer. You could just take this rapid development approach and try to make sure that you have that constant back and forth relationship with the client, because the more you're open about what direction you're going through, the better it is. Because I think if you get this out of the way in the start, each step you take, it's easier to clarify and it's a win-win on both sides. You won't be wasting time and the client won't be losing much money, and you are all working together as a team. So yeah, I guess that's it. So I just wanted to emphasize this here. Let me know what you think. Comment down below on if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me, or if you have any other suggestions on what developers should use. I think not even just development, but I think even in other areas, you could plan a draft and then showing them step by step. Of course, everyone has a busy schedule, especially on a larger scale, but if you're able to have that constant communication and try to show them something, you're building a good relationship. And then alongside that, you're building your own personal brand as well. And many people don't see it that way, but essentially, if you build a good relationship, you're making a good image of yourself, and you're verifying your work, and that could lead to good testimonial in the end, depending on how it goes the whole way through, of course. Anyways, thank you for watching. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you all later.